PTF back with you on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. I want to thank our sponsors over at TwinSpires, twinspires.com, for sponsoring so much content on this channel this season. Very excited about the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, horse racing contest, newest major. Go to twinspires.com and navigate over to the tournaments tab to learn more. Kevin Kilroy joining us today. You've been out there all week. You've been doing the work show at Churchill Downs. We're going to pick your brain about what you've seen, but set the scene for us first. What's it like with all the major works in the books now?
Yeah, all the major works are in there. We finally got the Japanese contenders to put a serious move in yesterday. So it's an interesting year. It's hard to knock a lot of these. You just have a lot of physical specimens out there who are strutting their stuff. So who's looked the best, is a big question. And we'll talk a little bit about maybe ones I've got concerns about.
That's great. Well, let's start off with the Japanese runners. I think that's a good place because I did have many people who've told me Luxor Cafe is going to be in my top 3 picks if he looks the part when he gets out under these TwinSpires. So did he?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they just move easier, right? They're asking for less. The times just don't tell the story. What I loved about him was his ears the whole time with Jao Moira up, just listening, just flicking back, one ear focused and the other one just waiting. What do you want from me, boss? What do you want? So just so classy, moving so well. And that was throughout the move. So he's got plenty more. I mean, visually, he's been so exceptional in his races over in Japan. I think he's handled the travel. I think he's acclimated well, and he's ready to run. So he's in my top 3.
Any comparisons to how Forever Young looked before the race last year? Would you say he looks the same, better, or worse compared to that rival specifically, since he's the closest thing we've had so far to a Japanese-based Kentucky Derby winner?
Yeah, I think very similar in terms of with Forever Young, it was easy regimen for him, right? We were sort of wondering like when he was going to wow us, right? And we haven't just been seeing that from either Admire Daytona or Luxor Cafe. So just the trainers are just handling it easier, keeping in that maintenance mode. Nothing like Dermisota Gake or when we saw Tio Password last year do that big move, with 46 or whatever it was. Just classy, composed, just holding it within, saving it for the race. Similar to Forever Young.
I also read from that, I was thinking with all the speed signed on, maybe Admire Daytona would be potentially part of that, but you're not getting that early speed energy from him as much as the other horse last year. That's interesting info.
No, I think, in the UAE Derby, he was on the rail. He was definitely game. He was grabbing that ground ahead of it when the gates were yet to open. I think they pushed him forward because that was the spot to be. We've seen him come from off of it before, had a bad trip in the Hyacinth. So I think he's interesting. It'd be hard to put him on top for me, but it's kind of more of a wide open group than I think maybe people are telling the narrative of right now. And he fits into the way.
Interesting. Let's go in reverse order of what maybe people are expecting. Before we talk about the horses who've looked the absolute best to you, I want to see if there's any horses who your interest in betting has gone the other way this week, horses who've just looked okay. I've heard that same thesis from other observers there, that it's an interesting year in how many of them look good and even maybe better than expected. Are there any exceptions, horses that are just looking okay to your eye?
The Asmussen duo is a little bit of a concern for me. Tiztastic is one who, when we were at Fairgrounds, I mean, he outmoved Magnitude ahead of his big run in that Risen Star. He was loving it. Brought back to the track. He got the Louisiana Derby done. Might be kind of track specific. Got outmoved by Publisher. I haven't loved what I've seen from Publisher either. So I've got question marks about them. Now, Tiztastic, the distance, I think will move him up. So I do want to use them in that sort of 4th spot. Publisher is one that I'm going to try to beat in terms of his moves here at the track, also in terms of the trouble he's found out of the gates in his run. So he's one that I'm against. And it's a weird year, Pete, where, I mean, last year at this time, I was just sitting on the rail watching Fierceness just come, and he was ragged. He had that big work, and he was just flat. And I was like, holy shit, how did I have this guy on top? Why have I been telling people to bet this guy? His energy was zapped. And I haven't seen any zapped energies from the big moves from these runners. So they all seem to be coming into a big race. Who's the best? I think we're going to get to see, which is exciting.
Our other sponsor on this video, before we get to the horses who look best this week, is the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development Fund. racing in Kentucky on a big upward trajectory due to the infusion in purse monies that comes to Kentucky racing from the KTDF. Everybody focuses on the first Saturday in May in Churchill Downs, but Kentucky now, in large part thanks to the KTDF year-round racing circuit, worth paying attention to all season long. For more information about the KTDF program, go to inthemoneypodcast.com/KTDF. Now the big question, Kevin, who's looked best?
Burnham Square, my man, dude. He was on the track yesterday, and it was obscene, Pete. I mean, you talk about horses who are touting themselves, who are showing their energy, or really trying to assert themselves in the mix as a true alpha. I've never seen a horse with his neck bowed so much. I mean, his eyes were on the ground. He's just so tucked in within himself. He's been kicking the stalls down. That's the report from the barn. He's, not the worst for wear from his big run. And that was a move forward, I thought, in the bluegrass. And you wonder, all right, was that his top? Is he going to regress? No, he is keyed up. He is, and he's found his energy in a better way. At first, he was kind of keyed up in a wild way. Now he's finding it within himself. So what he showed yesterday just floored me. Burnham Square. He's ready to roll.
That's great info. We got to talk about the two, or at least the two that I think are going to end up at the top of the market in this spot. How have the favorites been looking? Journalism and Sovereignty.
Fantastic. I mean, journalism, nobody's looked the part more so, right? I mean, he's one that just is showing off all his moves, whether it's the sort of dressage sort of steps that he's been taking, his energy. You can just see the mind of a thoroughbred who's relaxed into his power, and he's feeling the energy of the track. Hearing from the exercise rider that he's loving this track more than Santa Anita. So all positive for journalism. There's no knocks on him in terms of what he has been doing here. So if you like him, there's every reason to. And Sovereignty, he's one that was a little bit washed out early. People were worried about anxiety. He's never been a very strong sort of morning presence. I mean, physically he is, but he's never been one that really floors you with his works. He's been putting up next to cupcakes in the mornings. That's given me a little bit of concern. Why are we going soft, with who we're matching him up with? But he's found his composure. He's moving well. He's done nothing to really move him forward for me. He just seems like an obvious contender.
Gotcha. Now, I didn't prep you for this about talking about giving actual selections. If you're not prepared to do it here, that's fine. You just have to tell people where they can get them, or you can release your thoughts on this year's Kentucky Derby for us.
Yeah, keeping price in mind, right? Journalism, I've got a little bit of question marks with him. I'm going to use him absolutely on all my tickets, all my vertical tickets specifically. But I do think Burnham Square is the one that's going to offer that value, and he's the one at the top of my list. Now, Luxor Cafe is right there as well. He just shows his energy differently, and of course, it's just harder to have a full grasp of who he's been beating, the company lines, et cetera. But those two are the ones that my plays are going to key in on in a big way, specifically on top. Journalism, as I said, in that top three for sure. And in terms of bombs underneath, I'm seeing Flying Mohawk outwork Anna Marie. He's never been outworked on a main track. We could have rain. That would move him up in a big way. And then, of course, Final Gambit, that Brad Cox runner, he hit the high water mark in terms of his move the other morning, galloped out past me. I was in the track kitchen with my boys, with Lou and Sal, my sons, and I was like, dudes, did you see that? He went past in a big way. So much energy. The distance is going to move him up. He's going to be running late. I wouldn't be surprised to see them sort of position him to get a piece in that old school style of maybe you can't win it, but you can definitely finish in the top five.
There's your super high five from Kevin. Appreciate you, my man.
Yep.
Check out the Twin Spires sponsored Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. Subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube challenge. Let us know in the comments who you like in the Kentucky Derby. We'll get the conversation going there. And we should put in one more quick plug, actually, before we get out of here, Kevin, for the work show the rest of the week. Where can folks check that out?
Yeah, pop on YouTube to that Kentucky Derby channel. We've got one more for you tomorrow morning, but they're all up there. You can watch them back. You can see these horses for yourself. You can hear our comments if that's helpful. Otherwise, you can just take in how they're moving yourself and inform some opinions. So up on YouTube at that Kentucky Derby channel.
Navigate over there. Come back here. Make sure you subscribe to both YouTube channels, especially our In the Money Media one. Very close to our next subscriber goal of 12,500. Let's make it happen, people, before the first Saturday in May. Enjoy the Kentucky Derby, everybody out there, and we'll be talking soon.